He was a complete failure, not only divorced by his wife, but also facing the constant threat of being fired as the team's manager without even the right to control a single penny.
Billy,
I need more money.
we don't have any
I can't
more money,
compete
Billy.
against a $120 million payroll with $38 million.
But we're not going to compete with these teams that have big budgets. We're going to work within the constraints that we have, and you're going to get out and do the best job that you can recruiting new players.
Yet, it was this very man who led an underdog team to create one of the most incredible miracles in baseball history. 20 consecutive victories that shattered the league's winning streak record. He himself was courted by elite teams, each offering multi-million-dollar annual contracts to sign him. The story begins with a Major League Baseball game between the New York Yankees and the Oakland Athletics. The match was in full swing, but the strength gap between the two teams was obvious. After all, the Yankees' annual payroll was 4 times that of the Athletics. As expected, the Athletics lost the game with a score of 3-5. When the cheers and adrenaline faded away, silence filled the empty stadium. Billy, the manager of the Athletics, stood alone on the field, once again feeling the bitter taste of defeat. He replayed in his mind the triumphant shouts that belonged to others, as if fate was mocking him once more. The score 3-5 seemed to burn itself deep into his heart. Billy firmly believed that with a bigger budget, he could lead his team to the championship throne. Faced with harsh reality, he wondered whether to accept defeat or to challenge fate again in the next season. When he went to see the team's owner, Steve, hoping for more financial support, the answer was disappointing. For Steve, the goal was simple: win more games and sell more tickets. But for Billy, his dream went far beyond that. He longed to lead his team to the pinnacle of glory and claim the league title. To achieve that dream, Steve asked Billy to keep finding players with the best cost-performance ratio. Billy was indeed excellent at discovering and nurturing young talent, but the team lacked the money to keep them. Every time he unearthed a great player, they would soon be bought away by wealthier teams. It was like sewing a wedding dress for someone else. After this recent game, 3 of his star players were immediately poached.
We had a deal, Scott.
We have a deal, if it's $8 million.
Oh man, you played
I'm
me.
just doing my job.
That didn't just make Billy's championship dream more distant. It meant he had to rebuild the team from scratch for the next season. In the office, a group of experienced scouts argued endlessly about which players could replace the 3 who were gone. But reality hit them hard. They couldn't afford anyone close to their level, and the ones they could afford were nowhere near as good. It was a hopeless cycle.
Guys are just talking. Talking la 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 like this is business as usual. It's not.
We're trying to solve the problem here, Billy.
Not like this, you're not. You're not even looking at the problem.
We're very aware of the problem.
Billy called it an unfair game. In this system, they were like people donating their own organs to the rich. The rich grew stronger while they became weaker, slowly fading into extinction. Billy had already sacrificed too much for this dream. Back in high school, a scout had visited his home, showing his parents a dazzling future. They were told Billy was a gifted all-around player. He could run, throw, field, and hit with power, a true 5-tool athlete, destined to become a New York superstar. Such players were rare, and the scout even offered a generous signing bonus to recruit him. At the same time, Billy also received a full scholarship from Stanford University. One path led to a professional baseball career, the other to one of the world's top universities. It seemed fate had blessed him with endless possibilities. Like all those favored by talent, Billy seemed destined to stand in the spotlight. In the end, he chose professional baseball. But when he truly stepped onto that path, he realized it wasn't his true calling. That one decision came with a heavy price, but he refused to give up. If he couldn't win as a player, he would do it as a manager. He poured all his time and energy into chasing that unfinished dream, but reality kept striking him down. Now, middle-aged and weary, his career was collapsing, his marriage over, and his daughter living with his ex-wife and her wealthy new husband. Every time Billy went to visit his daughter, he had to endure the mocking looks from his ex-wife and her new husband. But since he had chosen this path, he could only grit his teeth and wait for his chance to come. He had his eye on several affordable players, but when the opposing manager, Mark, heard how small his budget was, he rejected the deal outright. Billy then suggested a player trade with some added compensation, which made Mark hesitate. Just as the deal was about to go through, a man walked in and whispered something that made Mark cancel the decision. Billy was instantly intrigued by that man. After the meeting, he approached him directly.
Who are you?
I'm Peter Brand.
What do you do?
A few sharp questions from Billy left Peter nervous and tense. Peter quickly hinted that there were too many people around to talk freely. Billy understood, so he took him to the parking lot. Billy learned that Peter was an analyst. Peter then eagerly shared his entire philosophy of player evaluation. To Billy's surprise, it matched his own ideas perfectly. He immediately realized Peter was the person he'd been looking for. Coincidentally, Peter was gentle by nature and not valued in his current team, so that very night, Billy decisively recruited him under his command. On his first day at work, Peter brought Billy an astonishing player selection plan. He analyzed how many wins were needed to reach the playoffs and used mathematical modeling to evaluate every player in the league. This model could uncover player value that others couldn't see. Players were often overlooked due to bias, age, looks, personality, but the data model ignored all that. This allowed them to assemble a championship-caliber team within a limited budget. At this moment, Billy was facing exactly the kind of problem that required such a solution, and Peter's arrival seemed to hand him the key to building a championship team. During the player trading period, Peter handed him a carefully selected list of potential recruits. Later, in a management meeting, when Billy picked 3 unknown players from that list, the veteran scouts in the room all questioned his decisions. But the final authority was in Billy's hands, and the meeting was merely to inform them, not to ask for their advice. Afterward, he went straight to the home of an injured player named Hatteberg. Hatteberg had suffered nerve damage in his hand and could no longer pitch, but Billy asked him to consider switching to first base. Then Billy pulled a prepared contract straight from his pocket. Hatteberg was deeply touched, never expecting that someone would value him again after the league had nearly forgotten his name. However, this decision enraged the team's old scouts, who claimed that Billy's so-called mathematical data modeling was nonsense and could never compare with their decades of experience. But Billy had always despised traditional ways of running a team, which made Grady furious enough to insult him right to his face.
I'm not gonna fire you, Grady.
Billy?
Now I will.
With the internal resistance gone, the team was finally assembled. Yet this patchwork team was immediately written off by media critics during the training period. And honestly, it wasn't without reason. The players were either sick or injured. The team's core player could barely run a few steps without gasping for air, as he was already 36 years old. After a week of training, no one on the coaching staff had confidence in the new recruits, especially Hatteberg, who had switched from pitcher to first baseman, as everyone questioned his individual ability. But Billy insisted on keeping him in the lineup. After some time, Hatteberg began to show slight improvement, though still far from expectations. Billy joked with Peter about it. As the game days approached,
This better work. I'm just kidding you.
the media turned the team into a hot topic, and their questions became sharper and more sarcastic. They mocked the players' ages, joked about their personal lives, and ridiculed their low market value. Such psychological blows before the game are undoubtedly unfavorable for the players. Billy, who never watched his own team's games live, once again left the stadium and went to the gym to follow the match through the broadcast. He did this only to maintain emotional distance from his players, so that if something went wrong, he could make decisions without personal attachment. As expected, the team everyone doubted failed to surprise anyone. After the loss, Billy discovered that the starting lineup he had arranged was secretly changed by the head coach, Art, who replaced Hatteberg with another player. This broke the logic of the data strategy and ultimately caused the defeat. During their talk, Billy only asked Art to follow his assigned lineup next time. At that moment, their data-driven theory was treated like a farce, casually defined by those who failed to understand it.
Come up with a new approach, my hat's off to him, it won't work.
But Billy still believed in his data model. Unfortunately, the following games were disastrous. Art's stubbornness led the team to one defeat after another, even setting a new losing streak record. The results became unbearable even for Steve. Billy tried to defend himself, explaining that the season had just begun and that a few games couldn't define their true potential. Then he went even further and made a bold promise. If they didn't win the championship, he would leave the team at the end of the season.
And what's going to prevent you from accomplishing that? What are you afraid of?
Nothing. That's why we're here, Steve. That's why we get up in the morning. That's all we do.
From that point on, Billy gained more authority. He personally arranged the starting lineup and demanded that Art follow his plan exactly. But once the next game began, Art ignored his strategy again, and the team lost once more. Billy was furious. What made him even angrier was that after the loss, the players turned on music in the locker room and started dancing like nothing had happened.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
No.
What are you having fun for?
Seeing this group of complacent, hopeless veteran players, Billy could no longer contain his anger and decided to risk being fired to completely overhaul the team. He first used the team's top player as an example to warn others, then followed Peter's data analysis and called up other team managers one by one, deciding to trade away most of the team's traditional star players for a full roster overhaul. Even Peter was worried about Billy's reckless decision.
I may lose my job. In which case, I'm a 44-year-old guy with a high school diploma and a daughter I'd like to be able to send to college. You're 25 years old, with a degree from Yale and a pretty impressive apprenticeship. Do you believe in this thing or not?
I do.
Perhaps it was the helplessness of middle age. Billy had reached the point of no return and was ready to gamble everything. He went to Art's office and sharply warned him that the next game must follow his instructions to the letter. But Art remained stubborn, until Billy traded one of his players right in front of him. Then Billy headed to the locker room and gave an impassioned speech.
You may not look like a winning team, but you are one. Play like one tonight.
Before the next game, he analyzed every player one by one, giving precise, tailored advice for each problem. For certain players, Billy, who had never gotten too close to his team before, broke his old rule and started to connect with them personally, building trust and morale. Under his influence, the players began to encourage each other, and everything started moving in a positive direction. The team's record suddenly began to change.
The beginning of this three-game series, 5-3.
Tejada walks.
What is happening in Oakland? The A's have won 7 in a row.
The outside media credited all the success to Art, and Peter felt indignant on Billy's behalf. But at this point, Billy no longer cared about the team's current results. He threw himself completely into his work, and his bond with every player grew stronger and deeper. His occasional encouragements and perfectly timed advice made this unorthodox team slap back at all those who once mocked them. Soon, the team successfully advanced into the top 17 of Major League Baseball. But as the competition intensified, the roster still needed constant refinement, and on the final day of the trade deadline, Billy finally managed to secure the players he had been after through every possible means. However, with new blood coming in, old blood had to flow out.
Hey, Billy.
I need you to stop getting dressed.
Traded?
I'm sorry for the crap news. I know it hurts.
And he had no choice but to make painful sacrifices. The law of survival never changes. Those who adapt stay, and those who don't are eliminated, no matter the field. The arrival of new players raised the team's strength another level, and before long they achieved a 12-game winning streak. It was as if they were playing a grand joke on Major League Baseball. The Athletics then went on to claim the top spot in the Western League with a 14-game winning streak. They kept pushing forward and soon reached 16 straight wins, the longest streak in the American League in the past 25 years. The endless victories left fans in disbelief, and some even began to believe that the team had been blessed by heaven. The team made the front page of major newspapers and became a legend across the sports world. 17 straight wins. 71 years later, the Athletics tied their best record in history, also marking the longest streak in baseball since 1953. Then came their 18th and even 19th consecutive wins, miracles unfolding one after another within the same team. By this time, fans were completely insane with excitement, even preparing banners in advance that read, 20 wins in a row. Could they truly reach 20 straight victories and break the 103-year-old record, the longest winning streak in baseball history? Even Billy, who almost never attended games in person, couldn't suppress his excitement and appeared at the stadium, though moments later he turned away and hid in a corner, nervously following the live broadcast as usual. But chaos soon struck the field as the Athletics' huge early lead began to shrink with every inning. Heaven's favor toward the Athletics seemed about to come to an end, and the players' mindset began to waver. Then, at that very moment, Art, who had never made the right call, finally had a change of heart.
Out of work. Patty. Grab it back. You're hitting for Bernsey.
on. Let's go.
Hatteberg stepped onto the field, carrying the hopes of thousands and the weight of endless pressure. Sometimes we don't need to keep proving ourselves to others. We just need to store our strength in a single swing. And when that moment comes, everything will be proven. Hatteberg's powerful hit shattered the 103-year-old record with the 20th consecutive victory. In the stands, the banner reading 20 wins finally unfolded, marking a historic miracle never before seen in baseball. But after suppressing his excitement, Billy's expression turned blank again, because he knew that no matter how many consecutive wins they achieved, if they couldn't win the final game of the season, all of it would be meaningless. That's how those in power at the top think. He shared his feelings with Peter. But if they could win the final victory with limited resources, they would change the unwritten rules of baseball, and that would make everything truly meaningful. That was the ending Billy had always hoped for. As fate would have it, the Oakland Athletics couldn't hold on to their luck. They were eliminated in the very first round of the playoffs. Billy's dream was once again crushed by the power of money and control, and the loss left him deeply defeated. Fortunately, the owner of the top-tier team, the Red Sox, extended an olive branch to him, but Billy ultimately turned down the $12 million annual contract and chose to stay with the Athletics. 2 years later, his vision was proven right. The Red Sox won their first World Series championship since 1918, using the very same data-based strategy developed by Billy and Peter. Perhaps that was the true meaning of turning numbers into gold, believing in your instincts and having the courage to change. The mathematical model Billy introduced not only restored the original spirit of baseball, but also revealed a profound truth. Every player has value within a fair system, not one defined by money or external influence. Miracles are not the result of luck, but of long-term persistence. In team sports, when our performance falls short, we must ask ourselves, are we lacking the temptation of money, or is there something deeper behind it? That is something worth reflecting on.